All right, welcome back everybody. Welcome to vlog number 2. Vlog number 1 was technically shot about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. I don't really have the right camera for this, but I figured I'd give it a shot anyways because today we're gonna have a look at the E30 Touring. It has developed a driveline vibration that I need to look into. I may or may not have hooned and had too much fun with the car last winter. So I don't know if at this point it's the guibo or center support bearing or U-joint that is giving me trouble, but I figured I'm gonna take you guys along and have a look at what's going on there. And then secondly, we're gonna have a look at the race car, well, the shell basically, because it hasn't really moved all that much. But if you're here for E30 content, again, thank you so much for joining me and welcome to the channel.
Well, I guess first I gotta move all these cars around so I can even get to the Touring, just parked right there. Alright, I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about in terms of the driveline vibration. Are you kidding me? Dang it, the battery's dead. Alright, back to the Land Cruiser. Attempt number 2. Let me show you guys what I am talking about in terms of the driveline vibration. There you go. You can probably hear that. But yeah, so it is rattling the whole cabin. Sorry, it's really loud in here, so it's probably not going to turn out very good. On top of that, obviously, I am filming one-handed and driving with the other hand, so not very safe, but there you go. You have to be able to hear that on camera. It's so loud. All right, let's get this thing in the garage and let's have a look at what we're dealing with. All right, so I'm pretty sure that could be heard, but if you didn't hear it, basically I have a vibration going on where it feels like just right after the transmission, there's a source of vibration that shakes the entire cabin. Pretty much as soon as you get up to any type of speed, so like 20 miles per hour and up, it never really goes away. I did drive the car back from the time when it broke, so I don't know if, you know, something fell out, something broke, something tore. So let's get the car up on jack stands and see what we're dealing with. I have these like 6-ton jack stands that I bought for my Land Cruiser. They're gonna come in handy right now. All right, tires set under the car. Have another one on the other side there. I'll meet you guys underneath the car. All right, boys, so I have some great and some embarrassing news. And actually, what happened is, as you can tell right here, one of the drive shaft bolts backed out. I don't know how. I Loctite these in place, but for some reason, after 8 months or so of driving and hooning the car, this one backed itself out. Now, I have driven this car since with the vibration. Like I said, I had to drive it back from the place where this happened. So I would assume that the guibo took a bit of a beating because it is not balanced anymore at that point. Yeah, I'm actually glad that this is an easy fix. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take out another one of those bolts. I'm gonna measure it and then see if I have a replacement or potentially order that bolt, but there you go. That's an easy fix.
All right, so that is pretty embarrassing. I'm not gonna lie. Things simply do happen. Like I said, I do Loctite those in place. I usually cannot put the right amount of torque in there. I don't have a torque wrench to get into those tight spaces, but I do feel like for the most part, I'm able to get the right amount of pressure on those bolts to keep them tight, but clearly I did not in this case. So my fault. I, you know, sometimes obviously make mistakes. So luckily nothing broke as far as I could tell. But yeah, let's see if I have one of those bolts and we can go from there. It's always nice to have a bunch of spare bolts from previous projects. There you go. Looks like this is the one right here. yeah, so I have a couple of these. Lucky me, easy fix. Let's make sure this time we actually Loctite it in place. There you go. That should work. Pretty easy, straightforward fix, obviously. Let's talk E30 updates. Now I figured I would film this vlog as kind of an addition to the, I guess you could call them instructional or DIY videos that I make a lot, to give you guys a bit of updates on what is coming up, what to look forward to. For those of you that followed Salt City Euros from the beginning, you know that the transmission that I currently have in there is still from the M40 318 setup, aka the G240. Now, the transmission honestly hasn't given me any problems. I'm not totally convinced that I have the best gear ratio in there. Actually, I don't at all. I'm running a 373 limited slip differential along with the G240. So what I've been wanting to do for quite some time is put in a ZF transmission. Now, I've had this ZF transmission along with the drive shaft, and I actually have the clutch setup, the flywheel, the pressure plate, the shift linkage. I still need a transmission brace. I'm not totally sure if that's the same. I have transition mounts, all that stuff to convert the current setup to a properly geared ZF transmission, which works with the US spec S50 motor. I will still at that point have to worry about the gear ratio on the final drive. So I'm probably looking, I believe it's like a 2.93 or something limited slip that I'm gonna have to acquire for the Touring. But that's a different subject. I just wanted to let you guys know that this is one of the projects that are gonna be coming up. So I know a lot of the videos got deleted, the Touring project videos, but it's gonna be labeled something like transmission, you know, Touring episode 3 or something like that. That's something to look forward to. That being said, another thing to look forward to is a little bit of a smaller side project, and that is this air intake box. Now this is from a M30 engine configuration, but this is one of the cleanest looking setups that you can do on your 24 valve swapped E30. So I figured some of you guys might be interested in this. There's a couple things to keep in mind. It's a pretty straightforward swap. You're gonna have to do some very minor modifications in order for it to fit, but like I said, I figured I'd let you guys know that is another DIY video or instructional how-to video that's coming up for the E30 Touring. Right, so that being said, those are the two things that I'm gonna be working on for the Touring. I'm probably gonna shoot a bit of a beauty video for you guys as well, just because a lot of you guys have been asking about the Touring and updates and what's going on with it, but yeah. The shell, which is going to be turned into a race car slash hoon car slash dedicated. I don't even know yet. I haven't fully decided yet what I'm going to be doing. I know originally in the first 2 episodes I mentioned I wanted to build a track dedicated car, but I'm kind of having second thoughts on it just because I'm thinking about how viable is that solution really in terms of footage and overall. You know, track weekends are extremely expensive. You have to put so much effort into preparing for those weekends. I don't know how interesting that is gonna be. And at the end of the day, all my car related activities are still gonna be somewhat revolving around making videos for you guys and sharing my experiences. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna backpedal from what I said. It will be track dedicated, but we don't quite know yet what kind of track use it's gonna have. All I know is this is not gonna be a street car. It's not going to be registered for the street anymore, and it's just going to be a bucket list item where basically I do everything I've ever wanted to an E30. So let's have a look at the welder that I have acquired. Let's go, just follow me over. You guys can't follow me because I'm filming by myself. This is the welder setup that I ended up with. So for those of you that know your stuff, yes, this is a Harbor Freight welder. This is the titanium series. Harbor Freight has a lower end series from Chicago Electric. Then they have the mid-range, which is the titanium. And then they have a higher end welder series, which is the Vulcan or Vulcan setup. This is a gas setup. So this is 75% argon and 25% CO2 in order to do shielded welding or MIG welding with gas. As you can see, this is a MIg170, which runs both off 110 and 240, which, speaking of, I spent quite a bit of time having 240 wired into my garage. It was a pretty big project. I had to dig up my entire driveway in order to run the power here. But finally, we have a setup which is going to be capable of doing both sheet metal repair as well as heavier duty stuff such as roll cages or even structural support welding projects. Welding mask, which I picked up. This is off Amazon. It's like a $90 to $100 mask. It does pretty well. This is from Yes Welder, as you can see. Has the controls on the exterior, oversized viewing field. It works really well. I've done a couple hours of practice welding and just kind of getting used to all the settings, which, by the way, this welder allows for wire speed, the voltage, inductance. So this gives you quite a bit of control in order to set up your strength and penetration of your welds. Definitely a little bit of a nicer setup than a lot of welders where they tend to only have 2 setups, and a lot of times they only have 3-4 clicks possible, versus this has quite a few settings. So if you're more advanced and you kind of know what you're doing, this is fantastic. Setup currently for 0.23 wire welding. So this goes with the gas, versus what some people like to do is they do flux welding. So that means that the gas is kind of technically built into the wire itself. This is more for like outdoor applications when there's a lot of wind and the gas might not potentially be shielding your welds as well. Since I'm welding indoors, I figured I'd go with the gas setup. Oh, and by the way, gas is insanely expensive. So just this bottle alone, as you can see, I think this is a, what is this, like a 3-foot bottle? This bottle alone is $350. And then the gas is another $50. If you go with one of the huge setups that you see a lot of times at shops, we're talking like $450 to $500. I don't know if that's universal across the United States, but in Salt Lake City, this stuff is insanely expensive. So I figured I'm not going to be doing a ton of welding. I'm also not going to be doing this on a regular basis. And obviously I'm not doing this for a job. So I figured this kind of like medium range welder would work for me, along with the, you know, smaller / medium sized bottle. That should be plenty. I got the regulator set up, etc. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of giving you an idea. I think all of this combined at this point cost me close to $1,200. So do keep that in mind when you're thinking about tackling welding projects, depending on how much welding you're going to be doing, if you're going to be able to pay that off, if it's worth your time, or if you're simply trying to learn the skill like I am. I figured I'm going to make this investment because welding is something that I've been wanting to do for a really long time, and it's been another one of my bucket list items where I've been wanting to learn how to weld. I figured I'm gonna make the investment and see where I end up at. So speaking of where we end up at, let's have a quick look at some of the panels that arrived for the shell. And I can tell you it's going to be a lot of work. I'm not going to film all that just because A, I'm not in a position where I can instruct you guys on welding, and B, it is so much tedious work to weld and spot weld and grind and cut off, etc. That's not something that I'm going to document, but I do want to show you guys some of the panels that I got for the car at this point. So as far as I can tell, in the United States, there weren't really a whole lot of options in terms of new metal. I know CA Tuned carries a line of replacement panels. However, I may be wrong, but I think they're more like the general gist, and then you have to do some fabrication in order to make them fit. I figured I'm not that skilled, so I wanted to go with something that is pretty close to OEM fitting, and I ended up going with, I don't know if you guys can see this, but Valcas Garage. So this site, this company, provides an incredible selection of replacement panels. Anything from floorboards, side skirts, battery trays, various trunk-related components, fender, you know, like patch panels, engine bay, all sorts of stuff. It's pretty amazing. Highly suggest you guys check them out. I do have to say that obviously shipping is going to be an issue. So in my case, I ordered a bunch of stuff, but I didn't order the side skirts because the panels are pretty long and I didn't want to have to pay, you know, almost the equivalent in shipping just to get those parts over. So I'm going to try to later on figure out a solution for that. But that being said, let's have a look at what I ordered. So I went with lower fender pieces, kind of the same situation where you just can't really find clean fenders. And by the time you're buying clean fenders, you're spending so much money. I figured I'm going to give these a try. This is not going to be a show car. This is going to be a function car. So I figured these are gonna work for me. Additional metal, this is to get all the curves right towards the bottom section of the front here. Severely rusted because of drainage of the sunroof. It drains pretty much into that corner, and then also that's why the side skirts tend to rust, because all that water just has to go somewhere and it just gets caught and it's a mess. But so I got these as well, and then I got a new driver's side floorboard. This looks like a beautiful piece. I kind of held it up. I still have to cut out the old one, but this looks pretty amazing. I mean, this is really well done in terms of the stamping. It replicates when they originally make the shell, but it's very closely replicated. So I was a huge fan of this situation. Along with, this is one of two versions. This one has a little bit extra metal on the side, like it curves up, because I have quite a bit of rust that goes up into the rocker panel. So I figured I would get, or thanks to Valcas, actually, he suggested that. I don't know if Valcas is actually the name of the individual that owns it. You know, correct me if I'm wrong, if any of you guys know them, the company. But the representative from Valcas was the one that suggested this based on the pictures that I sent over there. So I communicated with them over Instagram. I don't know how a phone call would go. I don't know how good their English is in terms of like actual talking to you. But via Instagram, it was excellent, excellent English. So 2 thumbs up to this company, really, really cool. Oh, and one more thing, along with the floorboard, I got a new pedal mount. So that's gonna go somewhere right here to have the pedal mounted. There's 2 versions. Once again, they recommended this one based on the application that I have. I now have the parts so that I can start really digging into this shell. There's a couple small rust patches that I figured I'm not gonna spend the money to get proper replacement pieces. Those are just gonna be kind of function over, you know, beauty type of scenarios. So I'm gonna try to fabricate some solutions. Then on top of that, there's obviously gonna be some type of body work involved, but we'll get to all that stuff in another video. I think what I'm gonna do is actually call it at this point. This is just supposed to be a quick update vlog for you guys, kind of give you an idea of what's going on. If you guys did enjoy this at all, let me know in the comments. Give it a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. And let me know what you want to see next. Do you want me to cover the whole transmission situation with the E30 Touring? Do you want me to show you some of the initial cutting and welding that I'm going to be doing on the race car? Really, it's up to you what kind of content I produce next. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. And guys, I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.